California has been in severe drought for the last 4 years. Yet in just a few storm events, California has not only temporarily erased that drought, but so much rain has fallen that the Oroville Dam emergency spillway has sustained significant damage, putting 200,000 Californians at risk.
After 5 years of drought, now the extreme opposite, a deluge that just won't quit. The blinding conditions here are so bad you can't even make out the Golden Gate Bridge behind me. We are expecting torrential rain and violent wind in the bullseye of another storm system that just won't quit.
Overnight, the leading edge of another devastating storm, expected to drop 5 inches of rain and bring 65-mile-an-hour wind gusts to San Francisco. The Bay Area is bracing for rivers to rise again, roads to flood, and the potential for rock and mudslides to bury homes. In the city of Maxwell, where floodwaters swamped 50 houses over the weekend, residents returned just in time to evacuate again.
Some people, they've already got like 4 or 5 inches of water in their house, and they said it's not even worth sandbagging. The damage is already done.
50 miles away, all eyes on Oroville and the race to release water from the stressed reservoir behind California's highest dam. Up to 10 inches of rain are expected here. The surging Feather River will be on the rise. In Los Angeles, they are cleaning up after the most powerful storm in years. A month worth of rain in a single day. The deadly weekend storm killing at least 5, triggering water rescues and massive power outages. Sinkholes swallowed cars and drivers, while freeways collapsed, breaking apart beneath a fire truck.
Hopefully this will be the last real big one, but you never know, it's kind of chaos.
But now it's Northern California in the crosshairs, the start of a 2-day deluge promising to deliver a nasty punch.
With the torrential rain just getting started here, we could see up to 5 feet of snow and blizzard conditions in the mountains. City officials say we should brace for flash flooding, power outages, and major delays at SFO, a storm system that is just getting started. Al, back to you.
Miguel, thanks so much. And in fact, we are looking right now at flood watches and warnings. 18 million people, significant river flooding, as Miguel mentioned, rock, mud, and landslides likely. Wind damage, too. 22 million people at risk for high wind watches and warnings. And you can see rainfall amounts that are going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain generally. The Central Sierra could see 5 to 8 inches. Northern California in the foothills, 3 to 5 inches, guys, in such a short period of time. There is going to be more flooding and much more damage.
As always, the simple and logical question is, how can this be? How can so much rain fall in such a short amount of time? Longtime Weather War 101 viewers already know the answer to that question, and it isn't an atmospheric river stretching from Hawaii.
Meantime, out west, stretching all the way from Hawaii into the west coast, we've got this Pineapple Express. We are watching this round of powerful new storms making their way into California with even more heavy rains and high winds.
Why are meteorologists okay with repeatedly saying this water vapor is streaming from the island of Hawaii with no natural explanation for why that would be? Why would the island of Hawaii be providing this water vapor instead of the whole of the Pacific Ocean? Here's one very tangible reason for why that would be. A massive geothermal power plant with huge banks of fans capable of blowing tremendous amounts of water vapor into the air. This plant is conveniently located precisely at the beginning of the so-called atmospheric river. The Hawaiian Puna geothermal plant is exactly like the Californian geothermal plants like Casa Diablo that fuel the water vapor mass when it reaches the coast. Why can't meteorologists see with their own eyes that the so-called atmospheric river abruptly originates from the island of Hawaii, but is fueled by other, equally inexplicable sudden streams of water vapor? Why can't meteorologists see that when this artificially created water vapor stream reaches the coast of California, bursts of water vapor erupt from all over the state to complete the storm system and create the otherwise inexplicable deluge California is currently experiencing? For years, Weather War 101 has explained why geoengineers have such difficulty getting it to rain in California. This system depends on sequential water vapor generation from one state to the next, adding to storm systems until saturation point is reached. California, being at the beginning of this nationwide cycle, has no states before it to bring storm systems to saturation. Since there are far fewer water vapor generators in the Pacific than there are on land, sufficient water vapor to tip saturation point rarely reaches California. However, recent evident increases of the number of water vapor generators in the Pacific have produced enough water vapor concentration on several instances for the on-land water vapor generators to push them past saturation. This is the verifiable sequence of events that produces these rare rainstorms in California, and it is the verifiable sequence of the current storm as well. Here we see streams of water vapor burst from nowhere as if from a fire hose. In fact, in the perpetual effort to numb the public to reality, fire hose is quite often exactly how they refer to it. Here we see more streams. Here we see even more streams. These streams are intended to combine and bring near saturation water vapor mass to California, where it can be tipped to force rain. These streams are clearly not the result of slow evaporation from the sun. Clearly, this rapid water vapor generation comes from fixed sources in the Pacific Ocean. The most definitive way to show deliberate intent is to show the on-land water vapor generation streams that are intended to push the incoming water vapor past saturation point. Observing this proves the coordination and deliberate intent to make it rain, and once you understand the process, you can witness it with any storm on the planet. Here we see streams of water vapor generation in advance of the incoming water vapor mass. Here we see more in-place water vapor generation to push past saturation. This process continues and repeats. Once again, in 2017, this is the only way storm systems happen, and it's the reason that when it does rain, it comes down in deluge. While the social media bot networks misdirect and shift focus to Governor Jerry Brown failing to upgrade the emergency spillway, the real question people need to be asking is, where did all of this water suddenly come from after 4 years of severe drought? No rational person would blame the governor for not upgrading an emergency spillway during extreme drought unless they were aware of the capacity to create sudden, overwhelming events like this. Upgrading an emergency spillway during extreme drought would be like demanding snow tires in the desert. So, instead of continuing the usual cycle of sending hopes and prayers, blaming the event on Mother Nature and sending support to rebuild without ever knowing the cause, help Weather War 101 shine daylight on this extraordinary, daily deception and educate the victims in these communities. Please contribute to the Weather War 101 Flash Flood project, purchase a copy of the Introduction to Geoengineering ebook, and get some Weather War 101 merchandise to show your knowledge and support. Help wake the masses up to the most obvious daily reality there is.